panel to really highlight what's going on. You know, as Rebecca said, it's so powerful to hear the different stories of you know, we talk about the disruptors and how that impacted, and we were putting together the shirt, we were putting together the entire panel here to think about how we can talk about the ecosystem. What does that mean? And hence, all these stories of where we evolved over time has become because of the stories that Rebecca came to me, and my personal journey, and journeys that everyone is confined in their lives. And so when people start asking us what and who we were and are and growing to be, the only way we could come up with this was create a report such that we become the resource guide for women in the housing real estate ecosystem. And instead of taking the time of taking 5 hours to describe it, it came to a point where we said, okay, we have to have data analytics to support it. So that way they can reference you, and that way they understand the impact, because numbers start, and I'm going to have Dr. Chitra here explain that. And from there, she's going to put the framework together, and then we're going to go through and describe the vision that came to that and where we went through that. So if you give her another copy, and everyone's get a copy, sir? That'd be great. And that's where I want to go. So I'm going to give it to Dr. Chitra first to put the framework together. And what's so amazing is that when we put it together, right before we went to print, could you please review this? And she says, yeah. Well, little did I know the next day she'd given notice to IBM after 21 years saying, I'm going on my own, Desiree. I'm going to do what I want. So hence, for her endorsement of how great this report came out, right? So,
thank you, Desiree. So what we're going to do in this panel is really to highlight some of the key findings that have been published in this two reports. I would encourage, if you have not already seen them, browse through them. It's an amazing compendium, collection of information in one place, statistics that actually speak to the truth of what you are living and experiencing in the marketplace. There are so many different statistics. Often it is difficult to understand which is right, which is wrong. You know, are they for real? You know, they are talking about, you saw how our 2Q GDP increase, you know, was tweeted and enjoyed by the current administration, and Rebecca was just telling us the glaring statistics, what's going on really with the US consumers. So it's very hard to, so this, you know, credit to Desiree and Burgandy, who has put this together. Is just an amazing collection of. So I'm going to just take a few minutes to set the framework, and have Teresa and Burgandy slice and dice this for us. And you know, some of the statistics I uncovered, and I just refreshed them. You know, things just get updated so soon. Is you know, the current home ownership at the national level, just the US Census Bureau just published its 2Q 2018 survey report on July 26th, just a few days ago. It's standing it at 64.3%, and it's slightly better than what we were year ago, 2Q 2017, but not statistically significant. So it's in the right direction, but we have some more ways to go. And region-wise, I think you all probably feel this and experience this. Still, the home ownership rates are highest in the Midwest, followed by South, then Northeast, and then followed by West. So it would be, as we go through this panel discussion, I would love for this to be very interactive, for you to pipe in whether you are seeing this, whether the statistic is gelling in with what your numbers are showing. It would be great to hear from your experience. And then for my age group wise, I think this is the one of the I found this to be the most significant factor or fact in the US Census Bureau report that came out, that home ownership rates of households under 35 was higher indeed. Year to year, it went from 35.3% to 36.5%. Statistically significant increase. So, and I think that's a noteworthy, right, fact and phenomenon we are seeing. That means millennials are coming in, forming households, and finding the need for homes and coming to the marketplace. And the census also found another group, the rates increase was this 44 to 54, 45 to 54 year group. So that is the current state of home ownership. But what they did not do is the slicing and dicing in terms of women. How do these statistics speak to women home ownership, for the minorities and so on? And that's where it's going to be highly illuminating to hear from Burgandy and Teresa to unpack these numbers for us. What is the story with the women ownership? What do you see as emerging trends with the minorities? So back to you, Desiree.
Thank you. No, thank you for the update, Chitra. You notice how it was just 4-day-old data, right? Okay. So Burgandy was tasked a year and a half ago to work on 2017, and then we started in 2018. And I did these data reports, I meet people as I traveled around the nation, and say, oh, this would be great, let's put this together, let's just keep the resources, And Burgandy has been tasked to create the NAWRB report. And she took it like, okay, and kept getting the data, and I said, now go put it together. The structure of the outline is where she started, and I want to have her explain literally the question. Can you highlight not only key findings from Volume 1 about state of women's ownership, but more importantly to me, what was the process and how you created the report?
Okay, first disclaimer, I'm a better writer than a speaker, so I'm a better but it really started with Desiree being inspired with the idea of homeownership as a woman's sanctuary. And so we really started with that question, like, why is a home a woman's sanctuary? And we were also inspired by the statistic that single women outpace single men in home ownership, and they've been doing so for the past 30 years, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. So we started with that question, and we came up with, a few trends, and I'll list a couple of them. And when I go through them, then you'll understand why we ended up making it a second volume. Because with the housing ecosystem, we can't just stop at home ownership. Right? Because we know that home ownership is a means for women's wealth building. Right? But wealth building, we also need a job. Right? And when women get high-paying jobs, they're able to afford homes. But then there's also obstacles in the workforce that they face. So we really had to tie everything together. First, I want to go over some of the key trends that we found. One is that we're seeing more single women owning homes, and that might be because we have an increase in single Americans in the United States. So women and millennials in general are delaying marriage to gain an education and further their careers. The U.S. Census Bureau data reveals that 1 in every 5 Americans, 25 years and older, have never been married. In 1960, only 9% of Americans comprised this group. That group being Americans 25 years and older who haven't been married. And men outnumber women in the group of single Americans in this bracket. Right? So that's 23% compared to 17%. The single women are still being single men in homeownership. Right? So, because women are delaying marriage, they're able to focus on their education. We are seeing more women get college degrees, even postgraduate degrees. Right? So when they're attaining higher education, they're able to have more options in careers they find satisfying, and careers that give them a higher income, right? Which in turn builds their financial independence. Right? And it makes a difference in their income levels, whether or when they decided to get married. A report by the University of Virginia shows that women who marry older make more money per year than women who marry young. This difference amounts to about 56%. So the average annual personal income for college-educated women who married after age 30 is a little over $50,000 annually, compared to a little over $32,000 annually for women of the same age who had only a high school diploma and who married before the age of 20. All right. But even though we're seeing more women attain higher paying jobs, they're also facing financial obstacles. Right? There's a gender gap in female representation in many high-paying careers, especially in the STEM field. Right? There's a wage gap that women face. As you've heard this before, women are currently making 80 cents for every dollar a man makes for the same job. Right? And so also, women have difficulties returning to the workforce once they have children. And as consumers, they're subject to a pink tax on hygiene products. You might notice that a man's razor costs less than a woman's razor. Why? It's just pink.
Cost more.
Does it really?
Yeah, and also because women, they tend to live longer than men. They have, higher lifetime medical expenses. They also need to save more for retirement. They're going to live longer than they be able to provide for themselves. Right? And they also struggle with more debt than men. According to the American Association of University Women, women carry more student loan debt than men. So they comprise 2/3 of 1.3 trillion outstanding loan debt in the United States. And female undergraduates take on more debt in a year than their male counterparts. So female undergraduates, like 44% have to take out student loans compared to 39% of men. So millennial women may often face a heavier burden because they have similar loan debt, but they're attaining jobs that pay less than men. And the same report says that it takes women 2 years longer than men to pay off their student loan debts, typically. So once we got to these financial obstacles, we had to dig further. Why is there this gender pay gap? Why is there a gap in representation between males and females in STEM and other higher paying industries? What is the roadblock for career advancement for women? So that is what we try to address in the second volume. Yeah, and so to touch more upon my process, I'm actually a philosophy major. I'm in the process of getting my master's at Cal State Long Beach right now. And in philosophy, I've had a professor tell me that philosophy is about explaining things. What we do is that we take questions that a lot of industries and fields are asking, but they can't answer it on their own, right? Oftentimes it takes many industries, many expertise to give in their input to answer a single question. So when we start with the question, why are single women attaining homeownership more than single men? And then we get to answer the question, well, why are they facing more financial obstacles than men do? So that was the process I took. I took all the resources that Desiree sent me via email, no description, just a link, and I would compile them together and put them in conversation with one another, compare them, because oftentimes these reports are talking about the same thing, but they're not comparing what they're finding with other people. So that was what I tried to do. We're not creating data, we're just collecting it, putting it in conversation, trying to see if their reports are saying the same thing, right, or where they're differing, and trying to understand why that is. So, yeah, thank you.
Great. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you very much. And you are a very well speaker. Just soft, but very good. We'll work on it. But in her spare time, she also teaches. This is her first semester teaching at Cal State Long Beach, and she was very nervous about it. I said, just let it. She is a millennial, obviously. And she comes in, she's very quiet, she works. And this past year, I gotta say that we differed on something, and I sent her something. I said, well, look at this is great, great, great. No, this is not what we're here about. She actually fought back. I'm like, yes! embarrass you, but we need to get that inner core so we speak up. Our truism, our impact of what we can deliver to the report. And we made sure that we wanted the report to be a standalone, that we could take each modular. And the first one we created last year, we literally restructured the entire report and moved it all around the day before we went to print. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
And it turned out fabulous because we made it independent. We wanted to be able to take each piece out. So really cool is that at the NBLC meeting on Sunday, we made sure that we're going to start adding volumes. We have State of Limits Homeownership Volume 1, and number 2 is the rest of it. Well, we're going to break that down into C-suite, or leadership we call it now, women's leadership, and break it down to individual subs. So Teresa, you recently joined the NBLC earlier this year, and when you saw the report, you're like, can I take this? Can I go everywhere and tell everyone about it? I said, we don't. So please.
Absolutely. First of all, I want to say thank you so much. This is an exciting 3-day conference. I am just so exhilarated meeting some phenomenal women. I mean, hearing Tammy's story this morning and Rebecca and all of those speakers that we have seen throughout the 2 days. So Desiree, thank you. This has been amazing. How many realtors are in the room? So we've got several realtors. So, one of the things that I was asked is, tell me about the report, and let me tell you why I think this report is extremely important. Number one, because when you go and you work with a corporation like I do, I work for Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, as well as Real Living Real Estate, which is HSF affiliates, and it is run by men. Let me tell you, I'm trying to change that. I head up diversity and inclusion for the organization, and little by little, our CEO has given us the opportunity to do that. But men love numbers and statistics. That is what brings on change. So it's very important that we become savvy and smart and understand how powerful we actually are. And that is how you can get change passed, right? So that you understand 86% of the purchasing power, 86% of purchasing decisions are made by women, right? And you realtors out there know that even when it's not a single woman, when it's a married woman, who's making the decision on that house, right? It's the woman. And so that's really important for us to get that message through. This report has been incredible. There's some trends I know that you were asked of me to talk about. And I think all of us in the real estate business understand how critical the single woman is, right? I have to tell you a story. My daughter is 28 years old. Yeah, everybody say, I can't believe you have a 28-year-old, right? But I do. And she is 28 years old, and she's ready to purchase her home. She's looking at purchasing a home, very excited. But it's funny, she's not married, she's single. She's been dating, and I don't think she's gonna be married for a while. I'm like, please get married. It's gonna be a while before she does, right? She actually, my mother came to this country, immigrated here from Colombia. She was 26 years old when she came here. She was married, and she adopted me and my sister. And at the time that she came to the U.S. and married my father, 26 was considered an old maid. It was considered an old maid. And so she was told by her family that she would never marry and that she would never have children. So when she met my father and when she had us, she was very excited and said, I'm now married and I have children. So it was very an incredible one swoop. That is a change today, and Burgandy and the report, it states that in that report. Some of the trends that we see across the country depends on where you live, right? The reason that you're seeing a lot of the Midwest, more buyers versus the South, the second, and the Northeast, and the West Coast, is because of the cost of housing, right? It's ridiculous. So the number one thing, I think, the challenge that we're facing is rent versus the rent amount. We heard it yesterday. Rents are ridiculous. It costs $5,000 for an apartment in San Francisco. Who can afford to save money. So single women, we're finding that in the different parts of the country, the things that they're looking for, number one, is security. You know, they see homes as a wealth building opportunity. And when they buy, they want to buy something that is in a safe, secure building. They almost all travel. They're doing business, profession, careers. And so they really want to also have services where they are able to secure concierge services, where they have dry cleaning right there in the building, where they have all different resources available to them and easy access. That's the number two thing. The other thing that I'm seeing trending-wise is that women also are working a lot from the home. And it's not just women, right? How many of you are home-based? Work from home, right? A lot of us do. So having a home office, separate space, high-strong Wi-Fi services, technology-driven, that's another area that we're looking a lot of trending in homes. And so all these things are really critical when we're looking at the market. I love the report because of all the information that it provides to you. But also, don't just look at these reports because the magazine where you're featured has other data too. And that's really important that we constantly are being able to educate ourselves on what's happening in the marketplace and some of the trends that are happening. Because if you're seeing what's happening now, how many of you seen a little bit dip in some markets? Right? The West Coast always is like a wave. Right, Tammy? You see the wave of what's happening. So start studying. What's happening in the West Coast is going to come to the East Coast and Northeast. If you're seeing a slow turn and now it's more of a seller's market, we need to prepare our sellers for that. We need to understand what's the next thing that's coming down the pipeline. And I think this conference and these statistics that we're seeing here really are going to help us get ready for the next opportunity that comes out. Because I don't see it as a negative. I see it as an opportunity that we have in our business to be able to grow it and to actually stay in it and be successful in it. I've been in this for 23 years, and the reason I think that I've been able to succeed in it is because I've actually surrounded myself by very intelligent people that have always helped me grow in my space and learn. And I love the 12, right? The dirty 12. I don't have the dirty dozen. I've got 12 people that I'm my sphere, but I like that phrase, Tammy. So I'm going to actually adopt it too. So these are some of the things that I've seen trend-wise.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, 30 dozen. And we can take that to a whole other level. Chitra, how does owning a home contribute to women's economic growth and security?
So fundamental. I think all of you know, and Burgandy already alluded to, home being the sanctuary and having, so I think that's knowing what are the different ways in which the new kind of buyers, or especially millennial women, are coming to the marketplace is very important, because that's what, as sellers, right, as service providers, we need to be honing in on their particular needs. So is it stability? Is it a home for their children, a safe place to bring up their family, expand their family? That is one aspect, one dimension to it. We also see women buying real estate as investment vehicles. That is another angle. We saw yesterday, we had some phenomenal stories of how women are excelling in that, growing their real estate business. So that would be another aspect. Again, I think millennials are pretty savvy, not just home as a stability, bringing stability and safety, but it is also from a financial perspective. So they are growing up with the technology in their, along with their mother's milk, so to speak. So they are not at all fearful. They are able to think very clearly what it brings to the table. So understanding that dimension, investment. And there is another interesting angle the report brought, which is that it's not just stability and the second dimension of investment for financial prosperity, but it is also, we are looking at the ecosystem. Therefore, how are women expanding their purchase power by going up the ladder to the top levels of their in their companies, which gives them more purchasing power. So those are all, they all come to them. I think Tammy made an excellent point in terms of more than the property, know your buyer. What are their sweet spot? What are their core needs? What are they coming at it? Because that same property can be played at in different ways if you know your buyer best.
And can I also pipe in too, because I think something that you've seen in this room is education. So one of the biggest drivers for a lot of single women, because single women can also mean divorce, right? They have children. And so a big driver is education in the school systems. Are they strong schools? And that's something too that's expressed in the report, which is really important for us to know our buyer. We're also getting a lot of relocations. So, there's a lot of people that are moving. Corporate relocations are pretty common in the marketplace. And women are driving it, and actually more executive women are moving than there are men. So that's also another critical component. Do you have a relocation program in place? Do you understand what that means? Do you work with third-party companies that service relocation? So that's something that you need to be aware of and need to be very familiar with so that you can actually assist somebody that's moving with a family, that's a single individual that's choosing, to be in a strong school district. So those are some of the things too that we're seeing trending.
I think, Teresa, that's an excellent point, because single mothers, obviously time is of the utmost, and taking care of that. So excellent point. Burgundy. So how does women investors play into this piece of the ecosystem?
Right, so first and foremost, women are obviously seeking homeownership for both building. I think Sharon Levine pointed to that in her speech. Like, it's not always the case that women want to be investors. A lot of women don't even have the capital to even do that. Right? Home offers a foundation for professional development and economic growth. But in terms of women buyers as investors, we're seeing real estate investment with its potential high returns offers women a great way to boost their income stream. Women business owners will often begin investing in real estate once they accrue enough.
We're getting a lot of minority buyers too, so getting financing for those individuals too. So those are the three things. Solutions, we need help. We need help in making sure that Freddie and Fannie and the banks really help with the underwriting, with opportunities, and they see that, hey, these are people that are solid, they've got great opportunities, there's a different way of doing business. We have to be able to understand how the markets are changing and come up with the solutions to be able to solidly provide them with the lending opportunities so they can get those mortgages done in timely manner. And also, with the new Bitcoin economy, all these things are really important for us to be able to work through and get more homeowners in homes.
We have an interesting article about buying a home with Bitcoin. Anyway, Chitra, well, this leads perfectly to Chitra. What issues inhibit and increase female participation in male-dominated industries such as finance and technology?
Before I address, I do want to reinforce Teresa's message. CFPB published a report in 2015, which is very telling of what is going on with it, particularly with the credit inclusion. So 26 million adults in the US are credit invisible. That means they don't have any credit score or history with any of the 3 national credit reporting agencies. 26 million adults. And it doesn't stop there. 19 million more adults, or they are called credit unscorable. That means they have some credit history, but it's not sufficient to derive a reliable score, or the history is stale. Think about that, 26 and 19, that is 45 million prospective homeowners out there, nearly double the market of mortgage loans, right, that are out there, and that is not opening up merely because we are dependent on credit score as a way of estimating someone's credit worthiness to lend them credit, whether it's home or automobile and so on. I think we are at a point where we need to break that cycle. So there are so many, we are not taking into account what's the potential, financial potential going forward rather than looking at the industry. So I think women here who own mortgage finance companies, and Rebecca. I think there is a partnership here that is waiting to be born where we can truly bring these 45 million, at least a portion of it, to the market and expand. And the unfortunate, regrettable fact behind this 46 million prospective consumers is that they are highly likely to be African Americans, Hispanics, and low income. And we need to be leveling the playing field by coming up with alternate ways of assessing, right, whether someone can take on this loan. So I do want to bring that to your attention. So now going back to a question about increasing the female participation in fields like STEM and finance. Real estate is, I see, just from being part of this conference and what I see, is a very open, embracing, it's easier to get into the market. Tammy made that point. You can get into this field, but whatever the background may be, one might be philosophy major or literature or finance and accounting. On the other hand, with finance and especially in STEM, what we are seeing is that given it does require certain kinds of skills and knowledge, it's only about 6.75% of women graduate with STEM degrees when compared to more than 7-8% of the men. Think about that. That means men are qualified 2.5 times more having a shot at these high-paying jobs. That pays well. Whenever I go to the schools, middle schools to elementary to high schools, to expand their vision of all the jobs out there, and make this tech pays well. It's just that we are not. And women used to, in 1995, women used to be 37% of the degrees, STEM degrees, and it has fallen. Now women hold only 25% of the STEM jobs. And why is that? It's not because suddenly the interest is lower. It's just that more men have seized the opportunity or getting into the STEM disciplines and graduating 2.5 times more. So, it goes, so therefore, in order to do anything at the higher level, the pipeline keeps shrinking when you have lower representation of women in STEM jobs. And, as the positions, the scope of responsibility expands, the pipeline shrinks. And we have to fix the problem at filling the pipeline, opening the pipeline, and I think that's where all of us in giving back make this part of, that science and math is part of our finance, having financial knowledge, all part of very early on. They're thinking very early on.
I'm sitting here and I just have a vision of you all talking. I live in the office of corporate headquarters for Interviews in Irvine. We have the highest graduate program in the entire United States for STEM. 30,000 students graduate every year in Irvine. I don't know, we champion gender equality. Why don't we do a massive campaign, part of the city chamber, to get the women to have a support system so they don't fall out of the STEM program while they're there? Right? Wow.
That's the power of networking. That's right. If one person mentors two, and those two people go and do. So this is the doubling, the exponential network effect that we want.
To have consulting and a program, especially with the NPLC, and all of us in the financial literacy or impact and what we do from the real estate to finance and mortgage to all auxiliary services. Right? Okay. So let's bring it home, Burgandy, on the increased gender diversity at all levels of employment at the women's leadership level versus C-suite level. And then Teresa, you could have a few quotes based on that so we can move on. But thank you.
Okay, so I'd like to address the question itself first. I think it's important that we include how do we increase gender diversity at all levels of employment, because there is a lot of discussion about how do we get more women on boards, how do we get more women leaders, more women at the top. But that's often is that if we require quotas and stuff like that the women that are put on top will be seen as token hires, right? And the problem with that is that women have the title, but they don't have the respect. They don't have the authority that should come with that, right? So we focus on the necessity of companies having integrated policies or practices that increase gender diversity at all levels, from entry level to C-suite, right? Helping build that pipeline so women can advance in a company, right, by their own hard work, their own merit, right? Because the last thing you want is people questioning whether they, belong or on the top, or they, put in enough work for that that position. Right? So when writing this report, I was really influenced by Mercer's Women Drive report, and they mention how gender diversity should take place at the individual level and the organizational level. So at the individual level, obviously, that gender diversity needs to be part of a work culture. It needs to be embraced by every employee, every employer, right? And a lot of the brunt of that work will have to be taken on by managers and leaders, because obviously their employees are looking up to them, right? So they need to be role models and act in a way that shows that yes, they believe in gender diversity. That it really matters to have many voices, many experiences, many viewpoints, working towards their same goals and missions. Right? So it needs to be adopted as a personal commitment. One, and at the organizational level, organizations should do some research outside within their company to figure out which practices are creating change and which efforts need to be improved. Okay, so this might involve creating better leave and flexibility programs for their employees. It might mean training their managers to effectively administer leave and return to work processes. It might even be unconscious or conscious bias training. And also, organizations need to make sure they have a strong pay equity process, right? And they need to make sure that they are assisting the unique needs of their diverse workforces, right? And men and women might differ in the needs that, their needs. Obviously, for women, a lot of speakers have talked about how women have trouble returning to work after having children, or they don't companies will provide childcare services or something to help women balance both being a mother and being a professional, whatever they may need. So, and also because I talked about this earlier, but women tend to live longer, so they need health, retirement, such things. And companies should take into account the various obstacles women face in achieving economic growth and implementing programs to help them succeed at the, personally and professionally. But I think the most striking discovery we made was that quotas aren't enough. That we need to work on diversity at all levels of employment, which at first seemed controversial, but it does make sense. Right? You need to help women at entry levels so they can work their way up, right? And not just place them at the top. Although we need women at the top, where, as we always say, see at the table where decisions are made, right? But then we also need to make sure that we have a pathway for future generations of women to follow, right? And we need them to feel confident and believe in themselves and give them the opportunity to showcase what they're capable of.
Oh God, you see the smiles at her? Yes! Yes! I have no idea. So proud of you. Teresa, bring it home.
Yes, and time-wise, I just want to make a couple comments. I agree. One of the questions that was asked of me is, do I believe if we should have quotas? And I personally don't. I don't like anyone telling me what to do, and I sure don't want anyone putting a quota on a company, right? I think it bothers you, right? I think it needs to be by choice. And I tell you, we have a voice. We talked about the fact that we have 86% of that purchasing power and decision-making. We're very powerful as women. Millennials are one of those generations in the Gen Z coming after them that actually use their voice by talking about reviews, right? They go and they mention companies that are actually doing well. They work for companies that are doing well, and they also talk about companies that are not. So it's very important that we force the issue, not by setting quotas, but by having our voices heard, by making sure that we talk about the companies that have women on the board, that are present, where minorities are making a difference. That's how we make a difference. By example, let's look at this company, best places to work, best boards in the company. We have got to start rating, talking, and engaging and encouraging companies to be more inclusive, to be more diverse, and to make change happen, and it starts in this room. So that's my comment.
She didn't say it loud enough, did she?